As part of my training, I've been doing calculation problems, and my trainer has been teaching me a new method of calculating. It's a three-part process, and it's an idea based on eliminating human bias, and it's kind of based on a book called Forcing Chess Moves by Charles Hurton. And I'm going to show you a problem that kind of exemplifies this method. All right, so the first part of the method is to identify the material balance. Okay, so here we notice that we have 3 minor pieces, and black has 3, so that's even. We have 2 major pieces, he has 2, 1 queen, 1 queen, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we have material balance. Alright, that's the first part of the method. The second part of the method is we have to identify targets. That could be a square, a file, a diagonal, a piece that's hanging. In this case, I would say that this is a target, this file. The G6 square in particular is a target. The H7 square, G7 square, H7 square is also a target. The H file is a target, and maybe that seems like it's about it. Okay, and now the third part, and this is crucial, is to list forcing moves. All right, in your head. So that doesn't have to be a check. This is and you have to list them all and calculate them all. And this is where we learn to calculate like machines. And you eliminate any bias that you have. So what are the forcing moves here? Okay, the most forcing move is obviously queen takes. The most forcing move is checkmate. Well, this isn't really checkmate, but it's as if it were checkmate because black only has 1 response. So that's very forcing. Knight here is very forcing. It is only 2 responses. Bishop takes is forcing. Only 1 response, actually. Pawn takes, or else you just lose a piece. And rook here is pretty forcing. And, there's also knight here and knight here. So this seems like a lot of stuff, but a lot of this stuff we can discard very quickly. So let's look. Let's go by order of most forcing moves to least forcing moves. And that way, if we find a winning variation early on, we can avoid the rest of the study. So let's see, the most forcing move is queen takes G7. Right? So, but after king takes, then maybe rook G3 check is the next most forcing move. King H8, and there doesn't seem to any continuation here that works, because the only other forcing move left is rook G8 and then rook takes, and there's nothing left. So we can eliminate this move. Then what's the next most forcing move? Well, you might think that knight check is, but actually knight check allows black 2 options: knight takes or king H8. So that's, while bishop takes is actually even more forcing. So bishop takes d5. After bishop takes d5, there's only 1 possible move: pawn takes. And now we're going to look at, again, what are the forcing moves? Well, queen takes g7 is very forcing. Knight check is equally forcing because they both force 1 response. And so let's look at those first, because those are very forcing. After queen takes, king takes, rook check, it's the same thing. King h8, no, nothing left. Okay. After bishop takes, pawn takes, now we're looking at knight check. Knight check, king h8. And now we have to look at, again, what are the forcing moves here? And here's the cool part of the problem. This is the part where human bias will prevent us from seeing the right move. We'll look at it and we'll say, look, queen takes, king takes, we just transpose into the rook g3 line, king h8, and nothing's happening. And there's not really, maybe rook g3 immediately threatening mate, but, there's g6, doesn't seem very obvious. Maybe rook h3 threatening to take, and then queen h5 is mate. But, after a move like h6, not h6 actually, because h6 can be Well, what about h6? H6, rook takes, pawn takes. Queen h5. And maybe king g7. It's not so clear that this is a win, and these aren't the right moves, but I'm just saying. So actually there's a move that wins outright in that position, and I want you to pause the video and see. I'm telling you that this is a variation, so you don't have to. The first two moves I'm giving you, it's bishop takes pawn, bishop takes knight, pawn takes, knight f6 check, king h8. And pause the video and think of the winning variation. Okay, so let's get back to it. So let's actually start moving, just to show you. Although when you do tactics problems, you shouldn't move the pieces. But oh, oops, this should be infinite analysis. Check. Okay, so what are the forcing moves here? We saw this is forcing. We saw this is forcing, and this is forcing. But we didn't even consider, or I didn't when I did this problem. I didn't solve this problem actually. I usually do pretty well in tactics problems, but I didn't see this move because it looks ridiculous. But actually, this move is incredibly forcing. You're forcing because you're threatening checkmate. And a threat of checkmate is one of the most forcing things there are. Checkmate immediately is forcing, threat of checkmate, double checks, they're all very forcing. And now here black, now that you see the move, it seems, once you see the move, it seems so much easier. So black here has three options. He can take with this pawn, but then after rook h3 it's mate, so that doesn't work. Easy calculating. You can take with this pawn, then after knight takes, he has to take back with this pawn again, and then rook h3 is mate. And then you might think, well, then black has no good defense here. But if an astute player will find that black has a very strong defensive move, which is queen c2. Alright, so now, from the beginning, now we have to think, what is another forcing move here? Well, he's threatening to take our queen with his queen. But let's think of forcing moves. We have queen takes here, queen takes here, queen takes here. Maybe knight takes f7. But, maybe knight takes f7 looks okay, but it's not so obvious that after rook takes and queen takes, and pawn takes knight, that's going to be a win. After queen takes here, king takes, and there's no pieces left for the attack. After queen takes here, then queen's just going to take queen. So what other forcing moves are there? Well, this move is forcing, again, threatening checkmate. And after this move, black is hopeless. Black only try is queen takes, and after knight takes, check, pawn takes, and rook takes, checkmate. So let's look at the beginning position. Here's my point. This problem actually isn't too deep. It's not too. There are two types of calculation problems. There's in-depth problems, so very brute force, mate in 12, very deep, and then there's these that are based on vision, on seeing moves that aren't obvious. Mate in 6, usually I can see, like in CTR or something, I can see a mate in 6 in a few seconds. It's not hard, but here it's very difficult because the moves are so. The queen g6 move is not obvious at all. The first move, logically, is pretty easy, right? Because you eliminate the defender of f6, and the second move is also easy, but now we have to eliminate our human bias, and sorry, I forgot the arrows. And if we can learn to find moves like queen g6, then we're going to improve a lot as players. And once we can find those moves, it'll be very easy for us from this position, to calculate all the way through. We can see bishop takes d5, pawn takes, knight f6, king h8, queen g6, queen c2, rook h3, queen takes queen, knight takes, pawn takes, and rook takes h7. It's not so hard to visualize. It's only 6 moves. But the vision is the key.